But we can all sleep easier tonight. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has said the firm is going to limit misinformation and interference by blocking political ads the week before the election. Oh my gosh, what a guy! The Zuck acknowledges that divisions in the U.S. could, open quote, lead to an increased risk of civil unrest across the country. But this doesn't make Zuckerberg the patron saint of democracy. Quite the opposite. Anyways, Facebook anticipated over $400 million of political ad revenue in 2020. At Facebook's revenue multiple of 10x, that's $4 billion in company value. Zuck's ownership in Facebook means political ads are worth approximately $1.2 billion to him personally. The roots of this problem are Facebook's ad-driven business model. At the heart of ad-supported media is engagement. Simply put, it's the currency of the attention economy and what sells ads. To drive greater advertising, media companies do their utmost to seduce viewers' attention and maximize engagement. But the custodians of engagement are no longer the madmen of Madison Avenue, but the mathmen of the Bay Area, who are armed with super weapons of mass distraction, algorithms that know us better than we know ourselves. The algorithms, which are indifferent to our well-being, have registered that the key vehicles, the key drivers of engagement is extremism, polarization, and rage. When Facebook says its mission is to bring the world closer together, it's Latin for creating the Olympics for the most inflammatory posts to sell more ads. Facebook turning off political advertising for a week is a useless head fake from an ugly truth. Zuck has been molesting data and pitting people against each other since his dorm room days building Face Mash. The real problem is not political advertising. It's the ad-driven model. Zuck, if you really want to kill this cancer, here's some advice. Stop apologizing and rethink your business model. Who am I kidding? This guy doesn't give a shit about anything but his bank account and his power. Enough already. Speaking of head fakes, what's the latest lipstick on cancer? Last week, the CEO and his wife, Priscilla Chan, announced a $300 million donation to promote safe and secure elections. Zuck's concerned that our country's election infrastructure faces many new challenges this year because of the COVID pandemic. Mr. Zuckerberg's net worth is estimated at $107 billion, up almost $30 billion since the beginning of the pandemic. And this donation from San Francisco's most celebrated sociopath to secure democracy is less than 0.3% of the wealth he's made undermining democracy. That's similar to Pablo Escobar funding parks and playgrounds while his sicarios kidnapped and killed politicians, or Jeffrey Epstein funding the Palm Beach cheer camp. This is yet another distraction from Facebook's cancerous business model. Every decision at Facebook is focused on enhancing shareholder value, as it should be. It's up to government and regulators to create disincentives for bad actors. The algebra of disincentive is simple. The probability of getting caught multiplied by the punishment needs to be greater than the expected reward for bad behavior. Facebook has done the math and realized that punishment is worth it. In exchange for delaying any efforts to constrain their growth, Facebook openly accepts the risk that their platform will be weaponized and the integrity of our elections compromised, as the downside is a $5 billion fine, or 11 weeks of Facebook's free cash flow. There's the Zuck and our regulators. One of them has done the math. The latest firm that's received an A in the algebra of disincentives is trading app Robinhood. The firm is facing a potential $10 million fine for not disclosing deals with high-speed trading firms. Robinhood earned $271 million in the first half of 2020 in what's called payment for order flow, a kickback given to brokers by market makers, usually high-speed trading firms, for first access to their orders. These payments for flow are considered controversial, as it may create conflicts of interest for brokers such as Robinhood. In 2019, Robinhood paid $1.25 million to settle matters tied to the very same practice. So, they've done this before. Specifically, they've broken the law before and been punished for it. Or was it a punishment or an incentive? That might explain why Robinhood seems to earn more money per equity trade than its peers. I mean, really, shouldn't the firm change its name to Hood Robin, stealing from the poor to give to the rich? Now, whether or not Hood Robin traders are getting worse prices on their orders isn't the problem. It's their incentives. If the revenue is linked to selling order flow, they need to get users addicted to trading. So just as Facebook's incentive is to foster enragement for advertisers, Robinhood's is to push trading. How do they do that? They make it easier for younger users with quick one-click trading, easy access to complex investment products, and visual cues such as falling confetti and emoji-filled phone notifications that make it feel like a game or gambling. And it's working. New York Times research suggests that when adjusted for the size of the account, Robinhood users traded 9 times as many shares as E-Trade customers and 40 times, get this, 40 times as many shares as Charles Schwab customers in the first quarter of 2020. Robinhood users also bought and sold far more risky options than their peers, over 88 times Charles Schwab customers relative to the average account size. A younger customer base trading 88 times the number of options. That's gotta end really well. Even though a $1.5 million fine didn't seem to discourage illegal behavior, the government believes a $10 million fine will fix the problem. By the way, the firm has raised over $1.7 billion, meaning if this latest fine goes through, the VIP pass that exonerates Robinhood from the law is less than 1% of capital raised. So if you could get a permanent get-out-of-jail card for less than 1% of your net worth, what would you do? The problem isn't that our government is a whore, pay to play to break the law. The problem is that our regulators are cheap whores. We need to change the algebra of disincentives. This isn't to say that the government always gets it wrong, and there's a lesson here. Case in point, Varsity Blues. I would speculate the next time a parent is presented with an opportunity to have someone take their kid's SAT or bribe a coach at UCLA so their daughter can upgrade from USC to UCLA, the parent will likely tell their offspring, you have to settle for being a Trojan. No parent is going to hit that bid, as despite looking fabulous, and let's be honest, she did look fabulous, no one wants to be Aunt Becky in the big house. Until there are perp walks, big tech will continue to ignore the well-being of our teens and the sanctity of our elections. Another issue, statistics versus a tragedy. In the old world, if you robbed a lot of money from a few people, you end up in jail like Madoff. If you conspired directly with a foreign government to harm America, as the Rosenbergs did, you'd have a hood put on your head and you would be executed. Today, the tech overlords say don't rob a lot of money from a few people, rob a bit of money from a lot of people. Again, the algebra of disincentives here means tech oligarchs have learned they shouldn't directly disregard democracy or young people's mental health, but they should disregard it on a huge scale. Big tech has figured out that a crime needs to be a statistic committed on a massive scale. However, as citizens, we need to continually remind ourselves of the damage being done. Here is one data point. We'll see you next week.